speak to this lady who's in there right now, and she's about to buy some tarot cards. I saw that you was very interested in some tarot cards, and I was wondering if you'd like to partake in an interview that I do. I just kind of want to hear your perspective on stuff and your views.
It makes you look beautiful.
Well, you do look beautiful.
I started when the children were little. I felt really down and I thought I needed something, so I picked up some tarot cards and I just found that I had a feeling for them. So basically I'm not psychic. Yeah, I'm not. Well, I don't consider myself psychic, and I don't consider myself hearing voices and stuff like that. So, but I learnt to read the tarot.
So when you're doing these tarot readings, what do you personally feel that you are communicating with to give people this guidance?
What do I think I'm communicating with?
Because obviously there's a force behind.
Yeah, there is a force behind, but I think everybody knows. I think that's the spiritualness. I think that's the energy. I think we have the answers within, and I think the cards help us find those answers, connect with those answers. So I think we're spiritual beings. I think that's how we're born.
So can you just show the camera just the cards so we can see exactly what we're talking about? So these are tarot cards. So it's a deck of cards. If you could explain what they are.
They're a deck of cards, and through the last hundreds of years, different people have used artists so they've told them what they feel the cards mean, and then they've drawn around that subject. But I think there's a lot of perception in the cards. So like if you're doing a reading for somebody and you say, you know, for me, like if I'm doing a reading and I get the Empress card, which is an abundance card, that would for me indicate spending some time around people that you feel loved. You know, maybe not necessarily going home, but going to where your best friend is, or to the place where that you really feel happy and really feel comfortable. And that's cards advising, for me, to stay on the right path. It's advising you to put yourself first, you know, to look after yourself. So I think those are all the answers that are in. I've got children that see ghosts. My mum sees ghosts. I don't see anything like that. You know, it's not that I don't believe in it, I do believe in it, but it's not something that comes to me. And when I'm picking up a card, I'm not hearing people telling, to do that. I'm literally reading what that card means from all the people that have made the cards. So like, my bag is full of different books. Yeah, and that's what I'm doing at the moment. Today, I'm literally going through all my tarot books, and then I read what all of these people say these cards mean.
Did you say, just going back to the original point, do you believe the force behind it? What do you think that is?
That's coming from yourself and the planet, basically. I think it's energy.
Okay, and so and you believe that the cards necessarily sort of bring that out in with more clarity?
Yeah, I think the cards connect with your brain. That part of your brain that understands symbols.
Okay. So one question I do want to ask you just very quickly is that, see, as human beings, we can definitely agree that there is a desire inside of us for fulfillment. And we desire to look for fulfillment in all different places. Sometimes experiences, sometimes money, sometimes relationships, sometimes careers, sometimes finances, all of these different methods. But see, in all of these things that we find fulfillment in, they come on a temporary basis that we need more of that kind of stuff, more money, more relationships, more, and it's on some sort of system of a hamster wheel. When we look at it, and we're not talking about something in this present moment, we're talking about when no one's looking, when no one's around, when you are by yourself, do you feel that you've found a consistency in fulfillment? Because it's a desire that we all need, or do you feel like you have to seek out fulfillment?
Do I have to seek out fulfillment?
Because as human beings, we run after fulfillment, we run after pleasures and desires. But see, there's something inside of us that needs fulfillment. Have you found it a consistent fulfillment that you don't need to look around anymore? You've got it.
No.
You haven't?
100% no.
And you're on a search for fulfillment in life, right?
Yeah, I'm on a search for fulfillment. To be honest, I'm like everybody else doing the lottery, you know, once a week, because I'm thinking, you know, if I didn't have to worry about money, would I be fulfilled? And stuff like that. So, yeah, I do think that people are searching for something. I've got a dad who gave up religion, you know, officially and stuff like that. So, and I was brought up in a family where you can go and choose your own religion, put on a bus and told to get off whatever church that they went to. So my family is very much like, but I do think those are the things that you find from within. Yeah. I've looked at other things. I've looked at Kabbalah. I've looked at all those different types of
As
things.
human beings, we can be so caught up doing and not actually thinking, am I content in what I do, or am I content in where I'm at?
I find it funny though, because you know, you speak to people that consider themselves spiritual, and you think to yourself, God, you're like the least spiritual person I've come across, because I think that's something that does come from being kind to people, and you know, and you meet these people there that say, oh, I'm very, very spiritual, and they're the first to be nasty. Yeah. You know, so I think it's a hard one.
So another question I have is that, what do you believe as human beings our purpose is on this earth?
Okay, my purpose on that. Well, for me, what my purpose is helping my children. You know, I want them to have a good life. What I've said to them is I want them to not have to worry about the bills, not have to worry about where money is coming from. You know, I just want their life to be easy. Yeah. So it's about, for me, it's about making people's lives around me easy. So I know lots of people around here, and if they're not feeling well, I'll go to the corner shop and I'll bring them back a tincture or something like that. People I don't know, because I just want people to feel better or feel, you know, whatever. So, you know, maybe that is my path. Now,
so do you genuinely think, as us as human beings, with the way that our minds work, with the way that our hearts work, with the way that our decisions are, not necessarily in public, but our decisions that are made in private, that necessarily we say to ourselves, I don't want to be this way, but find ourselves walking in a little bit of a contrary with what we desire to do? Because every single one of us, we may be able to do good, which we can, but it's only on a basis that we do end up doing something bad and then trying to please that desire that, oh, we've done something wrong, so now I'm going to do more good, and there's a battle in between us all.
I don't feel like that.
Okay, what do you feel like?
I don't feel like that. I mean, I'm all about manifesting anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, like I manifested my house in London, and I manifested my children's school. I manifest, and my children manifest as well. So I don't focus on negatives.
Okay. But do you agree on the basis that us human beings, we ain't perfect? No. We are people that can do good, but we can't. It's a pleasant thought to think, but realistically, it's not the case. None of us are perfect. And we find ourselves doing things that necessarily we don't want to be doing, even when our thinking sometimes can be a bit off. And we have to try and bring ourselves in alignment to do what we believe is good.
So for yesterday and the day before, even going through a doorway yesterday, I had an argument with somebody, you know, just going through the door. And but that, you know, I went and spoke to a friend afterwards because I said I was feeling a little bit sad, you know, a little bit not happy with things. But those are the times that, I think we can feel like that, but I think it's really important to go back to what it is I'm doing, what my plans are. I think it's really important to make a plan and manifest that plan. Take it out of my head, put it on paper, put it on the wall, start living towards that plan. I'm seeing a lot of people doing that who are very successful, by the way. But it depends, like you say, what you want from success. Success for me is sitting on a hillside in Spain, maybe, doing a couple of tarot readings a week and not doing anything. And my with a bit of money. But I don't need a lot of money. So, I don't know, maybe I would question myself, like I tried to think along positive lines, because I think it's a dangerous game when you start thinking negative. I think it drags you down. So going off of just summarising everything just very quickly. So the first thing I asked you about was fulfillment. I think, by the way, you're quite complex questions. So I know. You are making me think, I don't know if I know the answers to that. That's the whole purpose of the questions, because it's to cause you not to necessarily think what to say, but dwell within. Because the only true purpose of these questions is for you and what you believe inside, not what you say. Because it's a self-reflection thing more that I'm trying to do here. On courses, I've ascended, you know, so I've done all these courses these different people have, like you go there and you ascend and you go and you walk around, and I've done past life regressions and stuff like that. There's lots of things that I think, is that real? Is it in my mind? Is it imagined? Well, honestly, I don't think it matters. Like whether it's imagined or real, it's still, you can still use it with the same energy and stuff like that. But yeah. So going off the fulfillment thing that we said at the start, I genuinely feel as human beings, we have a piece inside of us that desires fulfillment.
And I just kind of want to just share my beliefs with you just very quickly, just so you can understand what all of this was. I believe that inside of us, we all have a desire, a box. Let's just call it a box, just for figure of speech. That has a size for fulfillment. And we find it in all these different places. Some seek for it in careers, families, drugs, alcohol, spirituality, all of these different places. But see, everything that this world has to offer comes with a temporary fix, where we might feel a bit woohoo, and it feels good, and then we got to do it again, or we got to chase after a different thing, or we got to meditate a little bit more, we got to earn a little bit more money, we got to do some more tarot readings to consistently fill that box of fulfillment. Now, in the purpose that I spoke to you about, what do you think the purpose of human beings are? I genuinely believe that our purpose on earth, we was created with a box of fulfillment that can only be filled with the Creator. And what I mean by that is that every single one of us were created. We can look around in the earth that we're in right now and see that there is a interior designer to everything that's been created. Even when we look at this building, for example, we know that somebody has built all of this and put all of these pictures up on the wall. But yet we've never seen that builder that's done it, but yet we have faith that someone's put it on the wall, but we've never seen it.
So that's where my energy bit comes from. I know this comes from some sort of energy.
Yeah, exactly.
Not necessarily God.
Now, when we look at the sky and the moon and the stars and all of that, there is even our human being eye, the fact that we're looking at each other's in the eyes right now, but we have the capability to look back at one another and get all of these images that are created in front of us.
Stuff,
But yet, it's very complex.
Yeah.
And it is a very intelligent design. And I believe that there's a designer behind it. Go on, what do you want to say?
When my baby was little, it was such an interesting thing, if you ever get to see it. So my friend put her little baby down, and I put my baby down opposite each other, and they sat and they looked at each other. And at that point, I've been carrying this baby around, it's like a doll, you know, you feed it and whatever. And that baby reached out and touched the other baby's face and was looking at it in the eyes. I was like, wow, there's something really
So you can see that there's something intelligent
Yeah,
happening there. Now, I think that it would be silly for us human beings to believe that this just popped up out of nowhere. It would be a silly thing, right? And there is an intelligent designer behind it. Now, the point that I'm going to come to you with...
You've got to be naive.
Yeah, of course. It would be foolish for a human being to say that because it's clear that there's something intelligent behind it. Now, what I'm about to share with you, I want you to sort of not have the box of religion as soon as I say it, because I know that this name that I'm going to say is instantly going to fit a box of religion. But I just want to try and give you a different perspective of it, and that's Jesus Christ. When I say that to you, I want to hear your honest opinion of what the first thing popped into your head when I said Jesus Christ.
I think he was a hypnotist.
A hypnotist, okay.
Yeah, I think he existed.
Okay.
And I think, you know, I think he was charismatic, and I think he was a very good talker. You know, when you can make a presentation. And I think when he stood up there on the Mount of Olives and he said, I've been to Jerusalem, I went to visit, went to Bethlehem and all that out of interest, you know. These things interest me. Yeah. So, but that's what I think. I think he was a charismatic man that people followed.
So you do believe in the existence of Jesus Christ?
I believe in the existence of him.
Okay, so...
Not the Son of God necessarily, but I believe that a man existed who was a charismatic man who people would follow. I think the world needs people like that.
Yeah. So in the basis that we've agreed on one thing, and that is that there's a desire in human beings for fulfillment. But in a part that we find fulfillment in all different places, yet we chase after fulfillment because it's something that naturally, as human beings, we need fulfillment to live.
I think people need things like that, and like religion and things like that, to keep them on a path.
And even outside of religion, we can see that in people like spirituality and stuff like that. Same thing.
The crypto boys, the people running, chasing after the money.
Exactly.
I think they're all different forms of religion.
Yeah. But see, the path that I come from, I'm not a religious man at all. And I believe that it's very unfortunate in the day that we live that society instantaneously, in a belief in Jesus, brings forth religion because how society tell us and represent Jesus. But I just want to give you a perspective that maybe you may not have heard before, you may have heard before, but I want to give you the perspective that I believe from. So I believe that as human beings, our minds, our hearts, our decisions, we want to do good, but yet we find ourselves at times doing bad. Even though that we can do good. If we walk outside right now and we find a homeless person and feed them, that's a good thing. That is a good thing to do. But yet necessarily, we don't always walk in what is good. We find ourselves doing things that are bad sometimes. We find ourselves, like you said...
Forgetting yourself.
Having an argument with someone, understanding that you stepped out of line in that argument and find yourself, you know, I was a bit too angry in that. We find ourselves doing things that are bad. You can agree on that because you brought up the argument thing. And see, as human beings, we necessarily desire to do good, but there is an inconsistency inside of us that we want to do good, but don't always walk in it. Now, I believe in a God that created everything, an intelligent designer, as we say. And I believe that...
I like the way you said that, an intelligent designer.
Yeah.
Because I read the Chariots of God, was God an astronaut?
Yeah.
And so I do think there is some sort of design.
Yeah.
And not necessarily like you, but do I believe that we were all started on this planet? I think we came here.
Okay.
From different outposts, maybe.
Yeah.
That's how I've always thought, you know.
Yeah.
But
see, that designer, we can see through the creation that's around us, that he is a perfect and holy designer. Regardless, he's outside of what we are. In that place of we are inconsistent in how we do things, but the one that created all of this, you can see that he is not on the same wavelength, let's say.
That's why I see that, that's why for me, I see that God is within.
Okay.
So,
but if God is within, how can we not be perfect?
I think you have the potential.
Okay, to be perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's what we're striving for.
Okay.
Striving to be that person.
But have you ever met anyone on this earth that actually could stand in that?
There
other
are
than
people
one
that think they can, yeah.
But when we look in history, outside of scriptures, outside of holy teachings, or all of that, history, if we
Is
go...
it enough, though? Is it enough to lead a good life?
No. Because we can only live a good life up until the capabilities that we have as a human being. To live a good life in a standard of what I believe to be God is perfect. Now, good to us is trying to be. Good to God is consistency. That's what I believe. And see, I want to let you know, I'm going to hold my hand up right now. I can't be good.
I was going to say, but could you argue that? Because that's why people say God isn't good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he created us with an inconsistency.
Yeah, but the whole world is going like that. I see what you're saying.
But because that's the consequence that us human beings choose to live in.
Is it
we
your
can't hold
consequence or his?
We can't but you got to remember, if we look at a God that's given us free will and that we can make our own choices, that's love. Because imagine, for example, if I'm walking down the street and I made you do everything and I didn't let you have a choice and what you want to do is up to me and that you ain't got your own brain. That would be control and not love. So for us to have free will, that is a position of love. Because it allows you to make the choice even if it's a bad choice. Now, when we look at the problems in the world today, I believe personally that the condition of the world is down to the consequence of man. Even when it comes to poverty in third world countries, we know that the 1% of the world that have the wealth, if they spread that wealth around, we wouldn't have poverty in the world because there's enough money in the world to provide. Now, because of the greed of man, the decisions that man make, is the reason why the world is in the condition that it's in today. Even with violence, it's all down to our own personal choices. Now, that could say that the person over there can make a decision that could affect us because of the status that people have in the world. So when it comes to conditions of the world, I believe that's down to the consequences of man, per se. We can't blame God for what we do.
When I see people the other day online saying about, the immigrants coming in, there's no room. There's loads of room.
It's our choices that
few people have got this land in this country, and the rest of us are scrapping in the middle for,
And in that, we can see human beings are a bit of a mess at times. Yeah. We can, right?
I feel like a lot.
A lot. I was being gracious. You're right. There's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who, a lot of people that are not selfless.
Yeah. And see, in that, this is the whole point that I'm trying to get to. We are an inconsistency. And in order for us to live in a way that the interior designer desires, we need something more than ourselves.
But so, if the question for me, how I think is from the difference between spiritualism and the church and that types of religion, is again, I see it as it's coming from within. The individual person has a responsibility to be spiritual, to do the right thing. Because I think the churches, especially like the Catholic Church, is a religion based upon fear. The pot going round and them taking the money and then keeping all the money.
Yep.
So
that's a big problem.
Yeah, this is a big problem. So,
but we can only see in history. We're talking outside of the scriptures right now. There has only ever been one that has attained a position of perfection. Even in history, if you go back and listen to historical accounts of Christ, he was very different to every other man that was on this earth. What am I trying to say here?
He was a kind, supportive soul by what I see.
But in the consistency of the way that he operated was on a different level of how the average person does. We can try to attain perfection, but there was only one in history, even outside of the scriptures, that actually attained to a place that a lot of accounts have recognized.
It's difficult for me though, because I believe, you know, like I said, I believe it's a real person, and I also believe the stories in the Bible, and there's a little bit like Aesop's fables.
Okay.
So when I walked around...
But you know, you can find historical events outside of the scriptures that still make accounts of Christ in these situations, outside of the Bible. If you go back in history, just like the same way that you know
Isn't that gossip when people talk?
But then can I ask you a question? Let's put it on this. You know the Queen Elizabeth? Yeah. You've been alive since she was alive, right? Yeah, yeah. So you can say, I've seen Elizabeth. Yeah. But see, in 50, 60 years when the new people are born, they're never going to have a chance to see Queen Elizabeth, but they have to rely on history to know of her existence.
Did you know something then? When I went to Jerusalem, which I found really interesting, and I met this woman, she was the interpreter for Ronald Reagan when he went to visit Israel. And so we got to know her, and she took us around a few places. And the main places like the manger and all those places weren't built to 200 years after the death of Christ. Mm-hmm. So they were built upon a woman who walked around and said, the Christ was born there, Christ, and they built churches. So it wasn't at the time, wasn't within that lifetime.
But there is scriptures that can tell us some locations, like the place that Jesus died at, Skull of Golgotha, I believe it was, and there is a place that you can go to that is actually that same place. So based on what you said, I don't actually have
This woman was called Maria or something, and she was supposed to have gone round and said, I have a feeling, spiritual feeling, that that's where he was born, a spiritual feeling that that's where he died.
To be honest, I don't know this woman, so it would be wrong of me to speak on this matter because I'm unknown of that.
This is just what this person said to me. She said that none of those places in Bethlehem existed till over 200 years after he died.
Okay. So, but going on back to the historical events, we can see that Jesus was a different individual. Even every religion, Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, they all mention Jesus in some form, some way. All of these Hinduism.
Yeah, that's why I was interested in Judaism.
Yeah. Even Jewish,
because obviously they said he existed, but he existed as a prophet.
Yeah. So Judaism mention him as a prophet. Muslims mention him as a prophet. Yeah. Buddhists say he was a Buddhist. Yeah. Hinduism say he was a teacher. So they all affirm Christ. See what Christ said is, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. So every religion's pointing to Jesus, and who's Jesus pointing to? Himself. Can you not see a consistency in that? He was mentioned in some kind of way.
I still feel,
but the point of
gossip.
Okay. Yeah. But again, if you want to find historical events outside of scriptures, you can look back. Just the same way that you know King Henry was a person, because history tells you that.
Yeah, well, I believe Robin Hood was a person.
Exactly. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
But we're in the year 2023 because of the existence of Christ as well. So
our
time has changed because of a man that was on this earth that died. Yeah. Can you not see the whole world has been impacted in the timeline because of Christ?
It's a bit like, I know this isn't a bit like, but it's a bit like Father Christmas, isn't it?
That's a completely different, but I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
It's the same people. Like my daughter said to me when she got to that age, how come the entire world is making up a lie about this?
But don't you think it's quite a profound thing to see that the purpose of Christmas was Christ, but yet it's been replaced with Father Christmas.
Yeah, Coca-Cola.
And now it's hardly even spoken about Jesus Christ. Why is the world trying to remove Christ out of the mix in Christmas?
It's difficult for me because I think that a lot of these problems stem from religion. Yeah. So
I'm personally not a religious person. That religion is man's made concepts to follow rules and regulations that necessarily don't
good reasons.
Yeah. But don't fulfill God, fulfilled you to make you feel better. Yeah, that's what religion's about. I'm a man that's spiritual, that knows that I can't. But see, this is the point I'm trying to make. See, what I believe is that Jesus Christ died on the cross because he was a perfect man. And see, when he was on that cross, because we can't live perfect, he died in a position of perfection to exchange his situation of being a son for us so that we could become children. When he said he's been forsaken on the cross, he actually was forsaken that we could be found by God. I believe that the position that we can't live in, he lived in so that we can live in it. And then when we put our faith in Christ, a supernatural exchange happens that we take his position for our position.
See, I think it's a nice idea, but I like the idea. I like the concept.
Now, just to let you know, because I haven't told you anything about myself, I want to let you know that once upon a time I was a crack and heroin addict. I was a man that used to sell drugs. I've been stabbed on multiple occasions. I used to get involved in all different types of street crime. I was bound to that lifestyle. There was one time I got kidnapped and beaten over the head with a tomahawk about 50 times, and I came out of hospital and I was under the influence of heroin, really bad. And one day I got down on my knees and I called out to Jesus and I had a spiritual encounter that changed my life. And from that day, my life's been very different because of Jesus Christ. But see, I want to let you know something. Every single one of us are appointed a day that we are going to die on earth. And every single one of us are going to come to a point of judgment that will be judged according to the way that we live. Do you know Jesus Christ said from his own mouth that there's no one good but God? See, us as human beings, we have a concept of what good is. And it's doing things that are good.
That's my ego tells me that.
I feel like do you want me to be honest? And I want to let you know that I love you, but I love you enough to tell the truth. I believe it makes us feel good to say that we're good.
No, what I think good is we're not good as in perfect or whatever.
But that's the standard that we have to live by.
I scream and I do all of these things, but no, the standard I live by is to just try to be good as often as you can.
But trying to be good is not quite enough for us human beings. See what changes.
Well, it might not be for you, but like
see what actually changes our hearts, our minds, not just our words or how we perceive ourselves in society, but what really changes us is faith in Christ. Because of that faith, supernaturally, you're changed on this earth. That you can actually embody.
I see a lot of people like that. I'm following this person, and we're in the manifesting. I'm following this person who prays, and she prayed and manifested every single day, and after 3 years, she won the lottery.
Based on the life that you've lived up until now, can you consider yourself perfect? And if not, there is going to be a time that judgment does come, and you're going to have an account to your life. And if you can't live to the standard God will, there is only one place that we're all going to go, and we don't have to go there. All we must do is believe on the way that changes us. And it's not a forced thing. You have a choice. If you didn't have the tarot cards...
This is like a book. I see this as a book.
But if you didn't have those, would you feel fulfilled? If you didn't get your answers from them, would you feel fulfilled?
But these answers are coming from my state. Like you said, I've read the Bible. I've read the New and the Old Testament.
Do you know my fulfillment don't come from the Bible? My fulfillment comes from a relationship with God.
Yeah, it's your relationship. It's coming from you, isn't it? That's how I feel.
But do you know, throughout my life, I try to do me. And I'm not going to take too much of your time because I know that you probably want to. I try to do me. And I look for it in so many places that never work. But what worked for me is Jesus. And all I ask for you...
And I think that's amazing.
All I ask from you...
And I don't mean that insincerely.
No, I know you're not. I can see that you're not insincere. All I ask is that when you leave me and you're by yourself, just reflect on our conversation today and see what it does to you.
I will reflect on our conversation. Listen, I'm not trying to live a perfect life. I'm trying to live a good life. I'm trying to be kind and you know, just... But do I think that when I die, I'm stuck in a bit of a thing. Like I said to you, my daughter sees ghosts. Do I think there's something outside? Absolutely not. I think when I die, I die.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going anywhere. Do you know that? So my friends go to me all the time.
So
that's terrible. How you can think you're going nowhere?
So how can you say that you believe in ghosts?
I know.
But then you don't believe you're going anywhere?
I know.
That's a contradiction.
I know, it's a contradiction. And that's what I say to my friends all the time. What a contradiction is that? Because I've got friends who are really religious and spiritual go, what do you mean you're going nowhere? I believe this is the life we're living. This is the life we should be good in. And I'm holding on to this life on my fingertips. Because when this life's finished, I don't think I'm going anywhere. Do my children agree with me? No one agrees with me. So I'm not going to hell. I'm not going to heaven either. Okay. You know, my energy will be trapped in this planet. That's what I think. My energy will be here. But will I be potting around anywhere? No. Okay. I think it's a nice idea.
All right, it was lovely speaking to you. I really appreciate it. It was lovely to meet you. Have a lovely day. Yeah, definitely. Obviously, as human beings, we all desire to think that we're good. We want to try and live a good way. But see, in our willpower, we can't live a good way. And every single one of us are going to give an account. So it's important that we just keep throwing out these seeds because every single person needs to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ. And it is God's free will that gives people the opportunity to make a decision. Will they deny or will they receive? All that we have to do is plant the seeds and hope and pray that this person will make a decision to turn to Jesus. So stay tuned for more.